Apple recently brought out its second generation of the popular AirPods Pro earbuds. But for today, we get into what I think is the best deal that Apple has to offer, that is the AirPods 3. Hey, what up? It's your boy MobbJustice back again with another video, and for today we're getting into a review of Apple's AirPods 3, that is the third generation. I've had them for almost a year now, got them soon after their launch at the end of last year. Anyone who watched my video on that specific Apple event knew that that's what I was most excited about at the time. As always, this video is brought to you by the team over at Lion Media. Head on over to check out some of the crispiest photo, video and audio content. That's www.lionmedia.com. Head on over, check it out and just see what the team can do for you. Despite hating the fact that Apple took away the 3.5mm headphone jack from iPhones back in 2017, I have to say that I actually like AirPods. My wife put me onto this a couple of years ago, had resisted, but when she got them, got the second generation ones, I was like, maybe this was something that I could possibly get into. No matter where I am, I often carry a set of earphones like this that are always in my pocket, so having some type of listening device is always important to me. So these earbuds typically have these silicone tips, so when I was looking for AirPods, I decided to go in the opposite direction. I wanted to be able to sort of hear things around me, hence deciding that let's go for the AirPods 3. And also at the same time, AirPods Pro are really much more expensive. In terms of my actual use of these AirPods, it's mainly been to do a couple of things. Firstly, when it comes to audio, that's music, that's podcasts, and then when it comes to video, it's consuming video on YouTube, film, TV, that type of thing. And I've primarily tended to use Apple products, so iPad, iPhone, Apple TV and MacBook. You can connect AirPods to non-Apple devices, but it does come with some limitations when it comes to functionality, hence using the Apple ecosystem, because you get the most out of it. And for the purposes of this review, that's the view that we're mainly going to be taking. In terms of the unboxing experience, typical Apple, you've got the white box, and then when you open it, you have the AirPods themselves together with the case, and then you get yourself a charging cable. These days the cables tend to be lightning to USB Type-C. In terms of design, your AirPods 3 are basically meeting in the middle. First, they are an update to the first and second generation AirPods, and then at the same time one could argue that they are basically your AirPods Pro, but without the noise cancelling or the rubber tips. And when it comes to actual design, you can see that these things are a bit different. This is the one that everyone knows, the first and second generation style, and then this is the new style, and you can see the stem is shorter and all of that. But one of the things that I like about the new versions, that is your AirPods 3 and including the AirPods Pro, is that they have this little button that you can press when it's in your ear, whereas the old ones used to have a tap function on the side. In terms of the listening experience and sound quality, I really like the sound that comes out of your AirPods 3. Great sound, great bass, and you can talk about the sound stage, really full sound that you get. It's definitely a cut above what you get in terms of the first and second generation AirPods. But when it comes to your AirPods Pro, probably similar sound signature except without that noise cancelling. As part of the listening experience, there's spatial audio, which basically places sounds according to where they are in time and space. Great feature, but not for me. And I typically switch it off, whether watching TV, whether watching movies, or whether listening to music. I definitely think it works best when you look at it from film point of view, really, dynamic sound, and still to get there on the music side, quite lacking, and just still a little bit more gimmicky on that side. Wireless earbuds are in essence competing with your traditional earphones like this, and ease of use becomes a big issue, because the 3.5mm headphone jack was always great because you can easily take this from one device to another. And when it comes to AirPods, I'll definitely say that in the Apple ecosystem you have a really great switching experience. I can easily go from an iPhone over to an iPad, and they switch quite dynamically. Where I have experienced a little bit of issue is with some of the older MacBooks. For example, I use a 2015 MacBook, and it doesn't automatically do that switch. And also on the Apple TV, despite the fact that you might be connected at one time, it doesn't always switch back dynamically, and it doesn't always connect on its own. And an extension of the Apple ecosystem factor, one of my favorite features is something that they call audio sharing, where basically you can connect more than one pair of AirPods to a device, typically an Apple TV, an iPad, an iPhone, whatever it is. But it seems to be a feature that's more reserved for some of the newer Apple devices as opposed to the old ones. One of the things that I wish AirPods had, on the cases across generations is a battery indicator of some sort. And without that, it means you have to use, your device, your Apple device, to know how much battery is in there. I know, non-Apple devices also can detect what the battery percentage is. My pro tip is to use the battery widget that comes on iPhones and iPads, and I think newer versions of macOS, just to see what the different percentages are. And speaking of that battery life, my experience has actually been a good one. Apple rates these AirPods 3 for around 6 hours worth of listening time, and in my experience recently I had a session where I did 5.5 hours of watching a movie, listening to music, a couple of episodes of a podcast, and this was across devices as well. And I was able to get from 100% down to roughly 20% during that time, so they could easily have gone through the 6 hours as advertised. But battery life does suffer a little bit if you're going to be using them for calls, and if you're going to be having spatial audio. On spatial audio, they're rated at around 5 hours, and if you're talking on the phone, it's estimated at roughly 4. But the nice thing about it is, because things like AirPods are so small, and the batteries in the actual AirPods and the case are as small as they are, they do charge pretty quickly. Just charge for about 30 minutes, and it's very easy to get well above that 50% level. And speaking of that case, with the case you can get 6 hours on the AirPods themselves, and with the case you're rated at around 30 hours of listening. In terms of call quality, no complaints on my end. It's been generally good experience, typically using them to do WhatsApp calls as well as FaceTime. Getting into some quirks and observations, the first one I'd note is that AirPods, the two buds tend not to discharge or charge at the same rate. So basically, in the example that I gave of the 5.5 hour listening session, I started out at 100% on the two buds, but at the end of that 5.5 hours, one was actually on 31% and one was actually on about 19. The other thing to note is that AirPods don't have an off switch. This means that if you take them off, they are in an on state of some sort, usually waiting for you to put them back on. I had a situation recently where I left them, took them off, put them on the side, and left them for about 20 hours. And by the time that I returned, they had drained all the way right down to 0 and had to charge them back up. And because these are wireless earbuds, they are subject to some interference. So for example, if you leave your device in one room and are listening to another, you need to just make sure that there aren't like big walls that are obstructing and, you know, clear lines of sight, that type of thing, because it does tend to interfere sometimes. And also distance is another thing to handle. And on that note, in certain cases it's rare, but there are some random situations where the AirPods do disconnect or unpair, and you have to put them back in the case so that, you know, they can come back alive. An interesting feature is that the buds themselves have something called skin detection, and as the name suggests, if you put them on, they can detect that you know, they're on the skin, and you hear the buzzing in the ear to know that, okay, fine, they're now on. And when you take one of them off, it knows that it's no longer detecting skin, and it can actually pause whatever you're listening to. But because you've got that skin detection, you can actually put it, you know, over here, and, you know, things will start playing. It's just one of those interesting things. The last quirk to note is the fact that AirPods are white, which means they attract a lot of dirt. So if you're going to own a pair of AirPods, you need to be ready to clean them often. A big use of earbuds like this is with running and exercise, and I can definitely attest, having taken them to the gym on a number of occasions, that they definitely stay in place. The only thing that they don't have, as I said, is active noise cancelling. So you know, they don't have that isolating factor if you are going to be in a gym where there's already loud music playing in the background. The other environment that people tend to be interested in is aeroplanes. What happens when you take a flight? I've actually flown with these AirPods on a number of occasions now, and I can definitely say that the sound is good, it's crisp, it's clear, except that you don't have the noise cancelling. This is one of those cases where you know, that noise cancelling of the AirPods Pro definitely comes in handy. It's very clear that I definitely like the AirPods 3. However, I have two big concerns, and it's the same concerns that have been raised ever since the product came out back in 2017. Firstly, these things are so easy to lose because they are truly wireless and there's nothing connecting them. And you know, as we see here, if something drops and you don't notice, it's very easy you know, for them to go missing. Recently read somewhere that one of the most lost and recovered items in the New York subway was you know, single AirPods like this. And that leads nicely onto the second piece, and that's that AirPods are not cheap. Whether it's to acquire or whether it's to replace, these things do cost you know, quite a bit out of the pocket, and especially considering you know, how inexpensive things like this are. So at the end of the day, who are the AirPods 3 for? First, you need to try something like this on. Not everyone's ears you know, are created or designed in the same way. If you just look at these two AirPods, for example, the second generation, third generation, you can already see it's a completely different style. I completely like this style. I like this one less. It's comfortable, it's okay, right? But I think this one is a better fit for my ears. Some people swear, you know, by having the silicone tips, but it just depends on you. And then I think the bigger question, you know, if you are in the Apple ecosystem, one of the big decisions you will be making is whether to get an AirPods 3 or whether to get AirPods Pro. And the big question comes down to active noise cancelling. How important is that noise cancelling to you? You've got the passive side with the tips, you've got the active noise cancelling with the software, and that's basically where the biggest difference is. If you're anything like me, someone who wants to still hear the world around them but still enjoy great sound, then these are definitely for you. So on the whole, I highly recommend you know, this particular set of wireless earbuds. I've enjoyed my time with them and I'll definitely recommend them. However, I do say that there are cheaper alternatives out there, and I'll definitely be reviewing some of these alternatives in the coming weeks, so definitely make sure you stay tuned for that. So that's been it. You guys can let me know what you think. Are you someone who is still here with the wired you know, type of earbuds? You know, have you made the switch to something that is truly wireless? What has been your experience? I certainly hope that now Apple has brought out the second generation of the AirPods Pro, that we're going to hopefully see a shifting down in the price points of the various AirPods that are still on offer for today. You guys can let me know what you think. Are you a fan? Are you not a fan? Are you looking to buy, or are you looking to skip this particular type of product? You guys can let me know what you think, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.
Hey, this is Baby G and you're watching the Mob Justice channel. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Live it, love it, like it. This is the Mob Justice TV.